So, hello, lovely people. We have an exciting episode for you today, one that I have been waiting to have because of being in the mental health field. So, I'm excited to talk about this topic because I know that there's a lot of different opinions when it comes to this particular topic we are going to talk about today. So, just so that y'all know who I am, if this is your first time tuning in, my name is Chetina Hunter and I am a licensed mental health therapist, a speaker, consultant, and the creator of Always Live Lovely. And I am hosting this podcast today, Breaking Barriers, a mental health discussion. And before we even get started, I just want y'all to take a moment, if you haven't already, join the Always Live Lovely community. Follow us on Instagram. Check out our website, www.alwayslivelovely.com. Follow us on YouTube. Subscribe so that you can see the lovely, lovely conversations that's going on under this podcast. We're on Spotify. We're on Apple. We're on Google. We're on, I think it's something called Overcast. We're on every type of podcast platform at this point that you can possibly imagine. So just make sure that you're tapped in, tuned in, and getting all this lovely, lovely information. So we are on episode seven today of Breaking Barriers, a mental health discussion. And today we are talking about medication.
Always living lovely. Just don't let the times go by. Do something. You don't gotta go outside yourself to prove nothing. You can lean on me if you need a hand. You can lean on me if you need a friend. You know that I got you. You know that we got you. Yeah.
All right, so the lovely guest that is going to be talking with us today about her journey with medication, how she overcame, and just all the goodies. I'm not going to share all the goodies right now. You just don't have to watch the whole episode to see. Is none other than a very good friend of mine, Miss Anna Chernock. Would you like to introduce yourself to the people?
Yes, so my name is Anna Chernock, and I'm a single mother of a 9-year-old daughter. I'm studying to be a health coach currently. I work as a caregiver, and I'm an administrator at a music school. And I've known Chetina since I was like 16, so we go back.
Yes, we go way, way, way back.
Yeah.
And I love of music is there too. And I'm super excited to have her on this platform just so that we can gain some insight into, what a journey could be like. So thank you so much for being willing to just join and share your story and be vulnerable with the people, because I know that that's not something that's easy to do.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. So, in getting started, just with this whole topic of medication, because, in the mental health field, like, this is such a stigmatizing thing to bring up. Like, even if I bring it up in sessions with people, they're like, but I don't want no medication. Like, don't try to put me on medication, or I've been there before and I don't want to do that again. Whereas there's some people that are really ecstatic about it and they've been able to find what works for them and they're chill about it. They're cool. They know the benefits that can come from it. People, I've worked with a variety of ages. So I know that I have worked with children that have been on medication in the academic setting, as well as right now working in the college setting. There are people in the college setting that are also on medications. So I'm curious if you just want to start out with just sharing a little bit of your story in regards to just even from the beginning, like how it became a thing for you to decide, or maybe even for your parents to decide that this was the direction and step that they wanted to go.
Yeah, so I can start at the beginning because the journey, started when I was a very young girl. My mom, when I was like around 4, she started noticing that I was exhibiting like very strange, kind of severe signs of anxiety. Like she would leave and I would freak out. I would think that, if she left, like she could die or she wouldn't come home. If she would go in the bathroom and close the door, like I would be panicking. It's like I was having a panic attack outside of the door because she wasn't near me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting because I didn't have attachment related issues as a kid. Like my mom could drop me off at daycare and I was fine, or drop me off at a music class or whatever I was doing and I was okay. But it was only when I thought she wasn't going to come home or something like that, that the anxiety kind of crept in. So that was kind of what led me in the direction of, getting on medicine. Because after that, my mom, talked to my dad and they thought that it was, best to just to get me on something to have some kind of relief because my anxiety was really starting to affect me in a great way for just for someone so young.
Right.
Um, and I also had like attention difficulty too, like ADD, like I had some focusing related issues. So that was also something that they were considering because I was going to start school soon.
Mhm.
So yeah, so they just kind of wanted to move me in that direction.
Okay. And do you feel like, was it different medications that you had to be on from such a young age? Or, how did they even feel in regards to having, their baby girl and having to consider, like, okay, maybe it's time for medication in order for you to be able to feel more comfortable just in your body and with different experiences, like you said, and with going to school. And there'll be more times where, your parents weren't in as close proximity to you as you may have wanted them to be. So like how did they really feel just about considering the medication for their 4 or 5 year old?
I think they were kind of cautious. They'd never thought about it before. They'd never even considered medicine. So it was just very, very kind of new adventure for them. But I think they just thought that I needed something
Right.
because I'm such a sensitive child. And at the time there weren't many options. Like we didn't know of very many natural options at the time. So it was kind of more trending to like, okay, if your kid is having trouble focusing, your kid has
Right.
anxiety, just put them on a pill. um but I believe that it was beneficial for me because I ended up going through a lot of trauma in school, like being bullied and not fitting in. And I think if I hadn't been on medicine, I could have potentially harmed myself, like, to be
Mhm.
honest with you. So I really do, even though I wish that I hadn't been on meds in some sense, I know that I was supposed to be on meds 100% because I could have lost my life if I hadn't have been.
Yeah, yeah. And that's such a powerful reflection that you have of just kind of like you're holding like that both and perspective instead of it being like an either or type of thing. Like you're kind of like,
Mhm.
there are some things where you're like, dang, like, wish I didn't have to be on it from such a young age, or I'm sure like noticing ways that impact you, but you're also realizing just the benefits that came from it and how it was able to help you balance things out so that you were able to remain safe. And it seemed like just from that reflection, like the pros during that time of your life, as you were just growing up in your young age, definitely outweighed the cons of you being put on medication. And even from there, like, so like you entered like into the school age, and then what did things look like, from there with you just having that benefit of just receiving more balance?
I think I was able to focus a little better, having the medicine and, not feeling like that debilitating anxiety was just taking over my entire life. But
Mhm.
it was also hard on the other hand because I felt so alone. Like I was harboring this secret. Like I didn't know anybody that was on medicine. So I felt like I was the only one going through this experience. And so I felt really alone during that time. But again, it was still an important buffer for me because I needed something extra to get me through school. So I think it did help me to spread my wings. But again, I felt really, like, really alone in that experience as well.
Yeah, yeah, I can bet just being a young kid and not, knowing that something is going on, but probably not fully understanding what's quite going on, and just kind of like listening to your parents and trusting them to make the right decision. But like you said, feeling
Yeah.
alone and, not really knowing like who would you talk to, especially if you're not in a setting, I'll say, to where a bunch of kids are like, taking some type of medication. Cause I definitely can say from working in, more mental health focused school classroom settings, like, if there's multiple kids that are on, then it does come up, like it's kind of a little normalized. The kids kind of know, like, okay, there's something going on with everyone emotionally, or it may have some type of academic difficulties. So it's kind of common to where they're already expecting, like, oh, my friend's probably on medication too. Whereas, back in the day, things have progressed some. So back in the day, there probably weren't other kids that you at least were aware of that were probably having some similar experiences.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like I feel like now it's a lot more normalized. Like everyone, we're very aware of mental health. But when I was going through it, it's like I literally struggled alone. I had no one to relate to with it, and I'm glad that now it's not as dark when it comes to that. It's not as
Mhm.
taboo now. We're talking about it much more. But I wish it had been like that when I was kind of going through that experience.
Yeah, yeah. And even as you like continue, so like with having like, being a young age and kind of growing up, were you on medications all the way up through like elementary, middle, high school? What did that kind of look like?
Yes. So I think I changed medications a few times. I won't go into like exactly what I
Yeah.
changed to, but I've been on SSRIs, I've been on, the ADD meds. So I've been on kind of a variety. But yeah, so I was on medicine all throughout, up until high school, even into college, even into my 20s. So I recently, like even recently stopped taking medicine. So it's been a journey, like my whole life, just kind of going through, these different phases, different medicines, different side effects,
Mhm.
just different milestones with the medicine. Yeah.
Yeah, and it definitely seems like it's played a role just in each stage as you've been developing along. And do you feel like with the differences in medications, because just so that y'all know, there are different type of medications that you can take. They all have their own purpose. Some medications can help you with a variety of different things. Some medications will treat things that you didn't even know that they could treat. And then they all come with their own level of side effects. And then so it's very important that if you are a person that wants to get to being able to consider medication, either talking to your primary care provider or definitely getting a referral to talk to a psychiatrist. A psychiatrist is the person that has the medical background to be able in the mental health field to be able to assess you and to be able to provide you with the support you need in regards to medication and having the appropriate diagnosis. Whereas like primary care providers, they can do that, but of course mental health isn't their specialty, so they can only go so far with it, just so that y'all know the difference. But with you being able to go through each developmental stage, having different medications, do you feel like as you grew older, the same pros and cons were there? Maybe like, even now in your life, that what you saw when you were younger?
Um, yeah, I mean, you mean the pros and cons, like the same pros and cons as when I was a kid, like feeling like
Yeah.
it has definitely helped me. Yeah. Yeah. I feel like it definitely still served its purpose, like throughout even into my adulthood. But then, of course, there came the time where I made the decision where I wanted to stop and just kind of take control on my own, which, not everybody can do that. Not, everyone's very different. We're all, uniquely made and we all have different needs. So, what works for me isn't going to necessarily work for someone else. But I found that once I got off of meds and kind of took control of my own life and, started looking at things from different perspectives that, it was just very inspiring. And I didn't even know I was strong enough to do this. So I surprised myself a lot.
Yeah.
So it's cool when you surprise yourself. You didn't even know like, hey, I can do this. Like I have more power than I thought I did. I always thought that I couldn't really control my mind or that
Mhm.
that it was hopeless, but it's not. Like I feel like we all have more control than we think we do. We truly do.
Yeah, and I really like how you highlighted that, just like, feeling very empowered and just noticing that you can get to a point to where you are able to just have more sufficiency or autonomy or the will to be able to push through and figure out how to overcome things and figure out what other methods are out there. Because it's kind of like you said, like back in the day, like people may not have been aware of what holistic things could actually help. And then so it's like, medication could be the first approach. And that's kind of what until you get exposed to other things. And the simple fact is a lot of people, do like, I think that's the fear, like that fear of like, once I get on medication, there's no going back. Or, if I have to get on medication, that means I'm crazy, or that means that I'm super weak, that I can't even handle what's going on. When really, the decision to be on medication can be kind of seen as a stepping stone to help get you to the place, like you said, to where you do realize, like, okay, maybe I don't necessarily need it as much right now. Maybe there are other options. But of course, if a person is really in a space where they have to be on it, trying to like, I guess, like, destigmatize in a way of seeing it as like, this is something I got to do for the rest of my life, or I'm not able to completely function at all ever without a pill. Like just being able to see it as like a stepping stone and something that could just help make things a little bit easier for you. And I'm curious, just even with like that empowerment journey, and like you said, just kind of deciding and trying to open up just the force field of all the options that you can have. Like, what has that even looked like for you?
Oh, the options besides medicine.
Mhm.
Yeah, so it's actually the journey for that kind of started recently during COVID. I kind of started just kind of working on myself more, self-care, And I found kind of more of a calling for myself through health coaching, because I've always wanted to help people with their health. But
Mhm.
it's like I didn't think I could, because I didn't feel like I had my own health in order, including my mental health, emotional health, spirituality, physical health, everything. Like I feel like I just wasn't up to par to help somebody. So I've been working on myself a lot this year, and just working on self-care and being more mindful of like what's going on in my mind. Why do I feel like this right now?
Right.
What's triggering me? Just being self-aware is so critical for self growth. And yeah, so that's really kind of been leading me through this, is just kind of understanding myself more, and not being afraid to just talk to myself, to feel
Yeah.
myself in these moments, those like very deep moments. It's so important. Yeah, so that's really been helping. And just going through this nutrition, like the health coaching program, learning about more about nutrition and how it has such an impact on all of our health, like all around.
Mhm.
We have our primary foods, our secondary foods. Like primary foods are like community, friendships, those connections we have, which are just as important as the food we're eating, because all the energy we're putting into our bodies and putting out,
Mhm.
we're all connected, we're all so close. So it all matters, it all has a purpose. So I'm just learning more and more. I feel like I'm having epiphanies like every day, where I'm like,
Uh-huh.
oh my gosh, like
It's like,
this is how life, like this is life, this is what it's supposed to feel like. it
mm,
shouldn't it shouldn't be gruesome every day. Like we shouldn't be feeling like we're on the edge every day. So I'm just, I'm constantly working on myself, and it takes a lot of work, it takes a ton of effort. Like it's a lot of energy for me to put into this, because I'm not used to doing it. I feel like I've had medicine to do it for me this whole time. So now I'm finally taking control of my life. I finally feel like I'm coming into myself. So it's really, this has been a special time for me, for sure.
yes, and that's so beautiful for you to be able to have and create that space where you can go on that journey. And you're right, like everything is connected, like in our body, like our mind and our guts are very much connected. Sometimes people say our
Mhm.
stomach is our second brain. So it's really important
Yeah,
to make
exactly.
sure, yeah, that we're doing things nutrition wise, making sure we're taking our vitamins, making sure that things are all functioning, together and in proper order. And I really want to just kind of like, highlight what you said about self awareness, because self awareness is so key throughout the journey, especially if you're taking medication. Because, just because you're taking medication doesn't mean that you've got to listen to completely like, okay, well, the doctor said this, so therefore I'm just going to do this. Like, no, you got to be able to advocate for yourself too. Like, you're the only one that's in your body. So you're the only one that's really knowing what's going on in there, what type of impact it's having, if it's the best decision. Because a lot of times people will take medication and it's not the right pill, like it's not the right, and the doctor won't know unless you tell them. Like, so being able to work with self-awareness, knowing, learning your body more, learning your mind more, learning, like, how you react, and how different things have an impact on you, is such a huge part of just a mental health journey. In addition to what you also said of, it's hard work. Like, a lot of people will think like, okay, well, all the professionals are going to do the work for me. No, 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 no. Like, people have to be willing to show up for themselves and know that they deserve to show up for themselves in that way, to just make sure that, they're able to like root for themselves. And it sounds like that's what you're doing. You're really rooting for yourself and recognizing you can do it. Because, like you said, the medication has been like the main thing that has been working for you. And do you feel like, well, first, before I ask this, I'll say, like, what do you feel like were some of the difficulties that you experienced with being on medication?
Being on medicine, well, like I kind of discussed a little earlier, like feeling like, again, like I was the only one, feeling alone, feeling kind of weird and different because of it. That was always really hard for me growing up. Like I think I told my mom something like, I wish I had, something going on that was more relatable, because I feel like no one can relate
Mhm.
to this. So that's how I kind of felt growing up. And it's like, it was such a hard thing, again, to kind of harbor that like deep, dark secret. Like no one knows I'm going through this, but then I feel like no one would care because I don't fit in anyways. So it's just a crazy feeling. It's very hard to go through something like that.
Yeah.
Um, and then like, I don't know, yeah, I just felt so alone as a kid. Yeah, it
And
was
was
just
there any
very.
side effects? Like, do you feel like there are any side effects that you ever experienced on any of the medication?
Yeah, so with some of the meds, so I was just talking to my mom about this. I feel like the meds, I just got off of meds like a few years ago.
Mhm.
And just a side note for people, if you are getting off your meds, please make sure your physician is aware, your psychiatrist is
Okay.
helping you get off of them, because you have to wean off of your meds. I did not wean off of them. for a couple of times. I actually went on and off meds a couple of times and did not wean off. And it was not a good experience because your body really has to
For the people.
slowly, yeah, slowly wean off. Yeah, because you really want to follow the guidance of your doctor. Don't do what I did. I was just like, oh, I'm gonna get off of these right now. I'm fine, like whatever. But no, 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 it was not good. And then during the time I took medicine, I don't notice side effects when I was really young. I don't remember anything
Mhm.
specific. But as I got older and I switched over to different anxiety meds, I noticed that I would get lightheaded. I'd have like vertigo. If I skipped one day, like I felt horrible that day. That's obviously because you're on them regularly. You have to take them regularly. So that was my bad. But I really did get the vertigo a lot and I feel dizzy. So I think at a certain point, because I didn't have that for a while on this medicine, I think at a certain point my body started to kind of reject the medication. It was like, nope,
Mhm.
this isn't going to work any longer. So I think it's really, again, it's important to listen to our bodies.
Yeah.
Very important because they're the driver. Like that, our bodies are machines and they should be treated, as such.
Mhm.
They're always warning us of different things. That's why we get like breakouts or, like certain things or rashes or just anything, it's like our body's way of telling us like, hey, something's wrong. Like I need you to help me fix this.
Right.
Yeah. So other than that, I didn't have crazy side effects. I did on a few meds. I did have some suicidal thoughts though. So that, I mean, that's probably the worst is, when you're already kind of feeling not like I'm going to kill myself, but like feeling like you don't want to live. And then
Right.
you're having extra suicidal thoughts. That's
Mhm.
really, really challenging. So that's been hard for me to deal with throughout the course of my journey, was just feeling like very alone, feeling like I didn't want to be alive because of that, and feeling like I had no
Mhm.
purpose. So that was worse than any of the side effects, really. I could totally deal with the vertigo any day, but feeling like that was at the bottom for me. That was like a very low.
Yeah. And did you find anything during that time? Because, like you said, the passive thoughts were kind of already there, but then, like, the medication can amplify that.
Mhm.
And so, what did you do when you found yourself, in moments and having thoughts such as that? How were you coping?
I would talk to my parents, or I would just journal sometimes when I was younger. So a lot of time I just kind of felt alone, and I didn't really know how to sort through it, but I just kept going. I was very determined. I would persevere no matter what. And I was just used to people treating me, in such a way. So I was just used to being a go-getter and just independently doing things on my own, whether it was writing poems or journaling or reading. Like some days I would just stay inside all day and just read a book because it was like my way of escaping my reality. So I could have like my own little world, like a safe world for myself. And I was also outside a lot. So nature helped me. I stayed active as a kid. I always was like riding my bike or scooter, rollerblading, skateboarding, just anything. So I was always outside. So I had like my escapes. So my ways of kind of coping were kind of just escape into something.
Yeah, and that's so beautiful. Even just as a young child, like hearing you be like have just like that grit to just keep trying to push through despite like the darkness that you felt like you were feeling as well. Like you were still trying to find the joy and still trying to find things that you really liked. And like you said, that gave you like a little bit of escape as well as being open and honest like with your parents. And do you feel like having that foundation to where you could speak to your parents about what was going on, did that skill follow you as you grew older to where you were able to even expand what your support system looked like?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that definitely was like a good precursor because now I feel like, I can be open with people a lot more. Though I will be honest, like I haven't, like most of the people that I went to school with, like still to this day don't know that I was on
Mm-hmm.
medication. Because I did keep it kind of hush hush. I felt like it was still kind of taboo and just a private part of myself where I felt too vulnerable to really express that. Um, but I was still able to be open with, I had therapists throughout my childhood because I was on medicine. So I was in therapy from the age of like 5 until now. So I've been pretty much off and on, not like as much as I should have been continuously, but I've pretty much been in therapy like my whole life. So that's helped me. That's been a good outlet. And then talking to my parents and just talking to friends about other issues going on. I would never mention the medicine, but I would just say like, oh, I feel like, I'm not fitting in here, or
Mm-hmm.
like just kind of, wanting to get that kind of comfort from your friends. Like, am I doing okay? Like, am I all right the way I am? Just kind of wanting that acknowledgement or validation.
Yeah, yeah, and you're right. Like, cause y'all, I didn't know until I was like, okay, well, we want to talk about an episode, and then she brought it up, and I'm like, what? Like,
Yeah, yeah, she had no idea that I was, yeah, like you had literally no idea. And I don't think anyone did. And like, I mean, I guess in a way that's good because it meant that I was kind of holding myself together without anyone knowing.
Mhm.
And so it makes me feel like I was strong. Like I struggled through it, but I stood strong through the whole experience, really. And
Yeah.
that I feel noble for that. Like I feel like I can inspire people now with my journey, and like people that are going through this right now, or that have gone through this their whole lives feeling like they were alone. Like I hope that this encourages you, and you know that you're not alone, because you definitely are not. There's so many people that have gone through this that are still standing and doing amazing things.
Yeah, absolutely. And perspective is everything, right? Because
Yeah.
to like how we look at things plays such a huge part. And the fact that you were able to like flip it for yourself and find it to be empowering and motivating, like, yeah, heck yeah, I was strong. I am strong. Like that helps you to want to keep going when you can see yourself in that light. And I also want to go back to something that you said that was really important in regards to when it comes to taking the medication. Like it's so common for people to like they'll get the pills and then they'll hold them and not take them for a long time, or
Yeah.
they'll take them and then they'll run out and not get a refill for a long time, or they're like, oh, I'm gonna take it this day, then I'm gonna take it this day, then like this isn't really working. Like it's definitely something to where you have to be consistent with it in order to see like, well, what is it really going to do? And then like Anna was saying, when you have disruptions in it, you can really experience some bizarre side effects. So it's important to make sure that you're keeping up with things in a consistent manner. And like she said, working with your doctors, like not just being like, I got the pills, let me just go figure this out myself, but really being able to work with them, because you know it's a medication. So it's messing with your body chemistry. It's messing with your brain chemistry. So it's important for you to like make sure that you're being open and honest. And when you make that decision, or if it's has to be made for you, trying to get it to a point to where it's not more detrimental, you know, to you than it needs to be, but that it can be something that's beneficial. So I really like that you like brought that up. Like, don't just go all willy-nilly, people, and just, you know, go about it in the way that you want. Cause I can imagine it makes it harder. You know, it makes it harder when people kind of go off and on, do this and that, stop completely one day and try to wean themselves off of it. Like you need the guidance in order to just make sure that you're okay overall.
Definitely. Yeah, that's so important. And another thing I was going to point out too is because I didn't talk about like dosage or anything, but I was always
Mhm.
on really low doses of all the medicines I was on. And that doesn't work for everybody, of course. But for me, I just needed like a little something. So I'd be on like, 35 milligrams, or like, or 40. I think I was never on more than 50, other than when I was I was on a mood stabilizer
Mhm.
recently.
Mhm.
And with mood stabilizers, they don't work the same as like an SSRI. So they kind of work more with your brain. It's a little different process. I don't totally understand it myself, because it was like my first time on a mood stabilizer,
Mhm.
but they're a lot more subtle. So you can take more of the specific medicine I was on. I was on like 100 milligrams, and I barely felt anything. So all this to say, they all feel totally different. They all work totally different. So it's very good to talk to your psychiatrist if you have questions about which kind to take. What do you think would be best for you? And to also remember to not use medication as a band-aid, because like
Mhm.
not going to fix your problems. It's going to help you to get to where you want to go, but you have to work with it too. You have to make changes every day, work on yourself constantly. And it's a journey, and it's totally worth it. It's the best thing in life, is to come through like a journey like that
Mhm.
and just come out shining. Like you've grown so much.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely not something that's a bad. Even like, you know, when people will come to therapy and they're like thinking one session is enough. It's like, no, like
Mhm.
it's work. Like people have to be willing to put in the work for themselves. Cause like I said, you deserve like to put in that work for yourself for you to be at your best. And even with like, you know, with your journey, and I know like it was very difficult for you just growing up, and you know, just like stigma has always been there. I wouldn't say that we're being super progressive in society right now, but of course there is like a little special little light on mental health right now, and people are like, it's kind of trendy, but there's still such a long way to go in regards to the topic. Do you feel like with the different experiences that you've had, like has your perspective just changed in regards to the topic of medication, the topic of going to see a therapist? Like, you know, do you feel like it's gotten better, as well as do you still feel like there's some hesitancy that maybe, you know, kind of crosses your mind from time to time?
I mean, I think with medicine for myself, like I'm a lot more hesitant now. Of course, I'm more for like for myself, I'm more for the natural route right now, and just
Mhm.
working on myself. But if one of my friends ever asked advice, like I would never discourage someone from trying medication, because I know that when I was a kid, that was my source of relief, that it was really important, and I wouldn't be who I am today if I hadn't been
Mhm.
on the medicine that I was on. So I know it was part of my journey. But I think I look at therapy different though, for sure, in a good way. I used to think like, oh, therapists, they just sit there and say, uh-huh, uh-huh, and they don't put much input. Or I would have a therapist that would talk so much. And I'm like, wait, I'm not getting any
Is
words
this
in. Like,
for
I
me?
want to have a voice here. So I never had a good balance with that. But I finally, I think finding a good therapist is so important. I finally feel like I found one. He like equally listens, equally gives input, and he just is helping me. Like I'm the driver, but he's helping me along on my journey. And yeah, so I think finding a really good fit for a therapist, it's so important, so imperative for anybody's journey. And I think I used to think I didn't even need a therapist. I was like, oh, I can just do this on my own. But don't think that you can just do everything on your own. We all need connection. We all need
Right.
community. We all need support. Every single one of us. Doesn't matter what we have going on. Like everybody really needs that. It's so important.
Mhm. Especially, during those moments, like you said, where you feel isolated or alone, like being able to have a therapist. I know some people are like, but that's their job. But you probably get a really bomb therapist like me or whatever. I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but
Yeah.
actually will like care about you and genuinely, root for you and genuinely want to see you do well. And that's so important to just have that person there when you can have access to that. When you feel like nobody understands, when you feel like there's no one that's truly even listening to you or hearing you out, they can be such a big help. And I know that you said like holistically, like it's the vibe that you own right now. So what thus far do you feel like you've been able to identify for yourself has been helpful holistically?
Holistically, so the biggest thing I did was change my diet. Like I completely changed the way I was eating. That was like my first step, because I feel like it's good to always start at the root. And for me, a lot of my issues were kind of surrounding food. I'd had some issues with my relationship with food that was already bad, like feeling like I was either binge eating or not eating at all, which is not good. And so that was affecting my hormones. And if you're affecting your hormones are affecting your mood. And so if I already have like, anxiety and all these things going on, that just elevates everything. So I decided, I'm going to start eating like a paleo diet, with
Okay.
plant-based emphasis. So just trying to get as many plants, on my plate as possible. So 75% of my plate is like plants every time I'm eating. And that's what's worked for me, is just eating really healthy, eating very mindfully,
Mhm.
making sure I'm sitting down and taking the time to eat slowly and not talking, just like really living in each moment.
Mhm.
It's been really, really helpful for me. And then creating like a routine for myself, like exercising every day, spending time with myself, just having mindful moments, journaling, meditation, more community. For a long time, even before COVID, I wasn't hanging out with friends regularly. Like I would text friends, I would call friends, but I wasn't really spending time connecting with my friends like I should have been on a
Mhm.
regular basis. And that was really hurting my spirit. And I also went through a period where I was like, just doing things that weren't good for myself, like, oh, overeating or under eating or over drinking, instead of spending time with like a community. And I think that's really helping me now, as I've been spending a lot more time with good friends. Um, and I've just been reaching out more to people and just trying to create more of a tribe for myself, because I think community support is just so important. And yeah, I love my friends so much. They've helped me on this journey. They've been a huge support, and I wouldn't be here without that support at all.
Yes, and that's so lovely to know. Like, friend support is something that's really big. So I had to put my earphones in and some extra noises. And I'm like, I want the peoples to be able to hear all the important things that you're saying. So definitely, being able to have, that friend support is something that's really essential, especially when you have people that, you can be your authentic self. You can be real about these things that you're experiencing and going through, and not having to feel like it needs to be something that needs to be hidden. So it's like I heard you say support system. It sounds like that's expanded, and then exercise has been something that you've been doing that's been extremely important. And just so y'all know, like, exercise doesn't always have to be we up in the gym and we lifting all these weights and we getting buff. Like it could be hiking, it could be yoga, it could be taking simple walks, whatever, works best for you. I also heard you say like your nutrition has played like a huge part just as far as
Yeah.
your dieting lifestyle. And like I said, our stomach is basically seen as our, second second brain. And then so being able to just fuel your body with what it needs. And was there anything that like, I'll say, like what truly helped you begin to figure out, like to know, like, okay, let me try the diet, or let me try this particular exercise, or let me try this, or let me try that? Like what kind of like sparked that? Or was there someone you talked to? Was there a video you saw? How did you get to that?
So, okay, so that's an interesting story. I'll just like briefly go into it because I don't want to take too much time. But so basically it was my journey on my own, which led me to a health coach eventually. But that was after the fact. But I had started losing hair from stress.
Mhm.
Not like obviously I still have hair, but I was losing like a lot of my hair. Thank God I still have hair. But I was losing a lot of hair. So I was thinking, okay, I probably have inflammation in my body. Let me research this. Let me see what I can do. So I went online. I found this woman on Instagram, Alopecia Angel, for dealing with women with hair loss, specifically alopecia, which I don't technically, I have like androgenetic potentially, but they don't know because they have to actually like take your hair and look at it under a microscope. But I think mine's just stress, knowing my whole life and my story and what I've gone through. Because your hair is kind of like considered like non-essential, so it's like one of those things that's going to go if your body is kind of rejecting, certain things. It's going to be one of the things to go. So I had to kind of go through this period of time where I was like researching and trying to figure out what to do. And then I found, her page, and I found some stuff that worked for her, but it was really a full circle approach, right? I had to have community support. I had to deal with eating healthier, exercise, spirituality, self-care, just everything, sleep. And so I did an elimination diet. So I took everything out other than vegetables, fruits, and meat. That's all I ate for 40 days. That's all I ate. No nuts, no seeds, nothing. So I was like steak and or chicken or any kind of meat, and then any kind of vegetables or fruits. But that's all I ate, and that was really very challenging for me. But I have to be honest,
challenging for me, and I'm not even the one that was doing it.
And I have never eaten that healthy in my whole life. Like I wish I had, because I felt amazing doing this. I felt so good. So yeah, through that experience, I kind of learned more about my body, and I realized like, I wasn't having headaches. My skin looked good. Like I just started feeling like so much more clarity. Like I didn't have brain fog anymore. And that was really important. So I noticed it was affecting me positively in like a physical way and a mental way, an emotional way. So I noticed I was calmer. I wasn't as angry. I wasn't having all these crazy triggers like I used to. I mean, I still would have them, but it wasn't as strong, and I was able to handle them better. It's like I had tools kind of to manage it better now that I had that clarity, and I was kind of, constructing a better regimen for myself. So yeah, so I think really the foods we put into our body, like we are literally what we eat. It's not a joke like that. That's it. Like you are what you eat. And so it's so important to make really healthy choices. And so I kind of figured out what worked for me based on the elimination diet, and then going into like a paleo kind of plant-based style. It's pretty much like a pagan diet. And that's what Mark Hyman, I follow him. He's a doctor, naturopathic doctor, really cool guy. Mark Hyman. Yeah. So I kind of follow that approach loosely. I mean, I have my own little way of eating, but I pretty much eat the same way that I was eating with the elimination, except I eat nuts and seeds and, other things too. And I try not to be restrictive. I try to find sweets that I can still eat and create. Like any meal I want to make, I will find a way to still create it, even with paleo. So that it's possible for anybody if they want to eat like this. Don't think that you're going to be limited. You can still eat literally anything you want. You just have to make it healthier. So
yeah. And that's like, shoot, I'm inspired myself. I'm like, because I know there's some things that I can like probably do a little better too. And
I got you.
yes, I need that support too. Okay. The therapist needs support too, y'all. We human and we don't have all the answers. So being able to just really focus in on, finding like all of it just reminds me of finding what is right for you, finding what works for you. So like, with you sharing all that you're doing, like it helps inspire people to think of the different things that they can do. And also, y'all just know that some things may work. And so I don't want y'all to take like exactly what she's saying as the blueprint. And you like, okay, now I got the keys, I got the answers, about to go do this and my life is going to change, because it's still things that everybody has a different body. So it's still things that you have to figure out, and then people cannot avoid the journey. Like That's just it. You can't avoid the journey. You can't skip steps. You can't think that you can go from the beginning to the end and not go through the middle. You have to be willing to show up for yourself in that way. And I want to keep highlighting that in this episode, because it is so very important. And just knowing that, maybe it would be for you to like change your diet. Maybe it would be for you to keep meat or take meat out. Maybe people have to drink much more water. One thing that I've noticed is like people sometimes don't go to the doctor and do their checkups, in the way they need. And sometimes people may realize that it's some low vitals that they have, that, you need more vitamins in a particular way in order to make sure that your mood is like stable, or that you're not experiencing any type of anxiety or even depression. And then so everything is so very important. And it sounds like, if you need a health coach, even in addition to a therapist, like it takes that team. It takes you figuring out, well, what people are essential and what people do you need that's like a well-rounded support system approach that you can build for yourself in order to get to exactly where you need to be. And even with you just being on this journey, how do you like, how much, let's see, what's a way that I can access, I'll say, like, what other goals or things do you see for yourself in making sure that you're maintaining the progress that you have now that you're off of medication?
Gosh, yeah. So I think just kind of going with what I'm still doing, like keeping up with eating really well, like that, I think is the number one thing for me to stabilize my hormones, to therefore stabilize my mood, so that I'm not like up and down. And because for a while I thought I was bipolar. I'm not, as far as I know. No one has approved that yet, as far as my psychiatrist.
Okay.
I think that, and then I thought I had other things going on, but I definitely had some mood related issues. So I was like, okay, this has to be related to my lifestyle. And so as for me, as long as my lifestyle is like, up to par, it doesn't have to be perfect. And that
Right.
definitely, don't stress about perfection, because no one is perfect. It doesn't matter if they seem like they are, if they're airbrushed, whatever, like we all have something going on, something we're insecure about. So don't ever feel like you have to be perfect. And that alone is going to stress out your body, like
Right.
feeling like you have to do all this at once. Like what you were saying with the workouts too. Like I try and do non-stressful workouts because I don't want to stress
Okay.
myself out more. So I try everything I do. It's like just relaxed. It's like I'll do like yoga, or I'll go on a bike ride, or I'll go on a hike. I just try and move. Like movement for me is the most important. Just knowing that I'm getting good quality movement in, and then I'm able to be outside, or I'm able to hang out with a friend while I'm doing it. So having support while you're working out,
Right.
like having some accountability partner is really important. I also have a health coach, and she's been really helpful in kind of organizing my day. Like she helps me with, checklists and like, kind of figuring out ways to organize my day, stress relief. Like she's really helped me with my schedule, and with self-care and prioritizing, just my health in general. So I think it's really important to have, a therapist, a health coach. Don't feel like you only need one. Like I think it's really, I feel like everybody kind of needs a little bit here and there, just support in different areas of their life. Because like I said, we just cannot do it alone. We do need support, and it's okay. You're not weak for admitting you need support. You're strong, because
Right.
that's part of your journey. And yeah, so I think I'm just going to keep going with what I'm doing, like just eating healthy, exercising, continuing to, cultivate the friendships I have. And just removing anybody that's toxic from my life that I don't need.
Yes.
That was also very important in this journey, because there was some toxic people I was hanging on to that I had to, very sadly, but in a good way, I had to say goodbye to.
Yeah.
But yeah, like just, yeah, I mean, you have to know your worth, and you have to have good people on your side to succeed, like period. Like we have to surround ourselves with good energy, good people. And I feel like everything in this world, again, it's about energy. It's about good energy we're putting in and out as well. So yeah. So I'm just, and I focus on how I feel every day. Like when I get up, I'm like, what does my energy feel like today? Or like I try and check in with myself throughout the day. So that's again with being, mindful, and just kind of self-aware, and just knowing yourself. Don't be afraid to talk to yourself, or get to know yourself, or write out feelings, just journaling. It's so important. And I think also finding like that one thing that makes you feel kind of magical. Like for me, the one thing that makes me feel like that is singing. Is like either that, or I have like a weird goal. I've been working on the splits. And that makes me feel like I'm like, I don't know, I feel kind of magical, because I'm like, I can do the splits almost. And I'm not flexible. So it's like, just finding something you want to work on, and like having that as a goal is so important too. And just finding that one thing where you feel like this is what makes my life feel magical. I think that's underrated, and everyone needs to have something.
Yes, I love that. This is what makes my life feel magical. Oh, that just that just makes it just makes everything better when you think of it that way. And
Yeah, it's so important.
yeah, and definitely like, all the things that she's saying are things that even if you are on medication, you can do these things too. Like it doesn't have to be like, well, I'm on pills, so therefore like can't do anything else. Like, no, you begin to figure out like what your wellness plan looks like, because like I said, for some people you can be able to get off medication, and that's the point, to be able to improve it or get yourself to a lower dosage or be able to switch something. So being able to figure out all the things that can help you, all the things that can be able to just make the mental health journey a little bit easier is a great just approach generally. And do you feel like, or is this like a myth? I don't really know. But of course, when we take any kind of medicine, especially if we've taken it for a long time, we'll think that we need to detox like our body, or like we have to do something particular to help, like, get our organs to function, I guess, at the capacity they need to. Do you feel like you needed to go through any type of detox in addition to just like the food elimination that you were doing?
I didn't. Maybe it's because I just was so used to them for so many years and my body just built up like a resistance or something.
Hmm.
But I didn't, yeah, I mean, like throughout my time, being on medicine, like my digestive system, thank goodness, has been intact. And I've always been, pretty, like just pretty good with health, even eating the way I was eating, and even taking care
Hmm.
of myself the way I was. I've always been like pretty relatively healthy. So no, I didn't necessarily do a detox. I've actually considered it though. I mean, I've done like mini cleanses, and I feel like my elimination diet was kind of like that too,
Yeah.
because I eliminated all this stuff in a really short period of time, but I was consistent. And I feel like that was kind of a cleanse on its own. And I do believe that our bodies kind of naturally can cleanse themselves because, like I said, we are totally built like machines.
Hmm.
And so our bodies are, just like as such, like just like when a computer has a virus or something, it's able to kind of cleanse itself, where you can put in the right software or hardware to kind of help it out. It's like with us, if we're, putting in the right ingredients into our body and giving ourselves everything we need, I
Hmm.
think that's like the best thing we can do. But it doesn't hurt to go on like a 10-day juice cleanse, or
Right.
there's lots of different natural ways to cleanse your body. There's natural pills, different phases you can take. I have a few friends that do the holistic approach with those, and they've worked for them. But for me, like, I don't want to get too overwhelmed. So I was just like, I'm just going to do the elimination diet. I'm going to eat healthier. I'm going to make better choices every day
Hmm.
and just show up for myself every day and give
Yes.
myself more love. Because as you know, our inner dialogue is probably one of the most important things in the world, is like, how are we talking to ourselves? How are we treating ourselves? And that is a direct reflection of how we're going to treat other people and talk to other
Hmm.
people. So the more you love on yourself, the more you can love other people. It's underrated. It's so true. I don't care how cliche it sounds.
Right.
Legit. Like you need to love yourself. And I don't mean like in a cocky or kind of condescending type of way, like where you treat other people less than you or anything. But just, you need to know that you're powerful, you're amazing, you're unique, you
Those
have a purpose,
affirmations.
and you're here for a reason. Yes. And in the morning with my daughter, every day we do our morning affirmations, and I tell her, like, today we're going to have an amazing day. And you're going to make
Yeah.
sure that you're going to have an amazing day, because you're in control of having an amazing day, regardless of whatever obstacles or what other people are doing. Like, you can choose to have an amazing day every
Hmm.
single day.
Yes, yes, you are absolutely right. That self dialogue is everything. It can make or break all of your experiences. Just what you are speaking over yourself, what you are speaking into your life. And it's not the easiest thing for people to be able to speak positively over themselves, especially if they're not used to hearing that from other people, or they're used to just having a negative mindset, or they don't believe that they deserve, like, that self love. But it's definitely something that's worth giving a try, because perspective, like I said, is everything. How you think, how you feel, it all just helps the way that you're able to be about in this world and be about in this life, and just how you're maneuvering through the obstacles that you may experience. So that's really important. And even for, I'm curious, just for, what would your advice or encouragement be for the people that may not have tried medication? Maybe they are trying it and they don't feel quite like themselves anymore, and they want to like give up, or they need to know like what is this really truly going to be like for them, if it's even the right choice to even make. Like, what are some ways that you would encourage that person, or what is just some truth that you would share with them?
I would just say, this is a very personal decision. Don't let anyone make the decision for you. Like, definitely consider it for yourself. Talk to a psychiatrist or your doctor, therapist, even a family member or friend, see if anyone, has any input that would help you. But just, I want people to know, like, don't feel alone. Just know there's so many people that are on medication. There's so many people that it's worked for. There's so many people that wouldn't be alive today if they had not been on
Mm,
medication. So it can be a very powerful tool. And I think, just if you want to try something out, just make sure you know the side effects, make sure you read up on the medication, know how long it's been around, and then make sure it's reputable, because there's so much out there, so much information, so much misinformation. It can be really
mhm,
hard to know, like, what is the right choice. But just know the right choice for you, you're the only one that can determine that 100%, because
mhm.
you know yourself better than anybody else. And you're the driver. So I think it's just important to make sure you're the one making the decision, you're comfortable with the decision, and take your time. There's no rush. Like, you really, and there's so much you can do in the meantime. If you don't want to take medication right away, you can just work on, self-care, eating better,
Mhm.
exercising, and just talking to yourself better, again, with the inner dialogue. So just all those things, those tools are at your fingertips all the time. So I think, just starting small, don't feel overwhelmed. That's like my biggest advice I would give, honestly.
Yes, that's beautiful.
Mhm.
Start small. You don't got to rush the whole process. Like if you're not ready, it's okay. You don't have to talk down on
Mhm.
yourself if you're not ready. And just sometimes taking things to the basics and not making it a stressful situation, because it's stressful enough what people are going through. Like, so definitely don't want to pile on more stress by trying to like rush or figure things out, or they're support. And even if it's difficult to speak up for yourself, like being able to know there's power in your voice. There's power in your voice. And like Anna saying, like, you're the driver in all of these things, no matter who you're meeting with. Like, this is for your life, this is for you. So you are the driver and everyone else is kind of like the passengers, kind of like the GPS system. If you could think of it that way, kind of like helping you get to where you're trying to go, but you're the one that has your hands on the wheel, and you're in control of this car. So even if you just are like, okay, this too much, like I'm about to just put this car in the garage and put like a little sheet over it because it's too much for me right now, like that's okay too. So I really appreciate you highlighting that, and I think you hit on just so many important points, and I really appreciate you just sharing your journey from such a young age all the way up until now. And it kind of has that essence of feeling like this is just a new beginning. Like there's so much more to your journey, so much more to your story, and it's ever evolving and ever changing, which gives hope to people that how things look right now doesn't mean that it's always gonna look like that. Things can definitely change, for the better, and continue to improve. So, I know that you said that, you're getting prepared to be a health coach. And I want people to know, like, if they have questions for you, I don't know if you're open to them sending you emails, like what ways can they contact you? Like, let the people know how they can get in touch with Anna.
Yeah. So, I mean, if anyone is interested in any advice or they just need support, someone to talk to, questions, anything, you can always contact me via email. It's rays of light, RAYSOFLIGHT 77 at yahoo.com. Or you can find me on Facebook. I'm under, like, what name am I under now? I, I kept changing my name. Oh, I'm under Anna Marie. So Anna Marie on Facebook. And then on Instagram, it's Kaleidoscope of Tears. I need to change that name. That was like my depressed name when I was going
Okay.
through. I had changed, because I'm like, I was feeling my feelings. So I'm like, I need to
Hmm.
be, I guess I kind of want to be vulnerable and let people know, like, I'm feeling something.
Yeah. How you want to
And when
express yourself.
yeah, and like kaleidoscope is kind of a way of saying it's like, it's a multitude. It's like facets, there's a
Mm-hmm.
lot going on. So yeah, so it's kaleidoscope underscore of underscore tears.
Okay.
So that's my Instagram tag. So if anyone, wants any advice, someone to talk to, anything, I'm definitely here for you guys, because I've been through it with this for sure. It's been quite the
Yeah.
journey. And I feel like I'm just scratching the surface of who I am. And I'm almost 31. So,
Hmm.
life is a journey. It really is. It's not a destination. You have nowhere you need to specifically get to. You just keep going. You
Right.
don't have to focus on just one goal. Just live your life and keep going. Definitely keep going, for
Yes,
sure.
that's it. That's that key right there. Just live your life.
Mhm.
And it doesn't always have to be like, I got to get to this point in order to feel like I can live my life. No, you're living it right
Yeah.
now. Hmm.
No, and you have to love yourself through the journey. You can't just love yourself when you get to wherever you wanted to go.
Hmm.
It's like you have to love yourself through the struggle as well, because that through the struggle is the only way you get to your goals, period. You have to struggle and you have to work hard, and it takes a lot. It takes a lot of energy.
Yes. And so y'all know how to, she told you all the ways to be able to get in contact with her. And as y'all know, I'm all about community. So joining the Always Live Lovely community is, I'm setting y'all up. Like all the people that's on these episodes, they're welcome. They're open to you being able to reach out to them. This is another way to just teach yourself how to build community and be able to connect with people in such a positive way that's good for your mental health. And, as I stated before, like, this episode is going to be on all the podcast platforms. So you can tune in that way. If you're more of a visual person and that's your vibe, I got you. That's why I'm recording these episodes, because I put them on YouTube so that you can watch if you need to see our lovely faces as we're having these discussions. And, just check out and see what's on, the website. I do a lot of individual consultations to where it helps you fill the gaps. If you need help with finding a therapist, if you need help with understanding mental health education, how to build advocacy skills, I got you. As well as, I give services for schools. I also have services for people that are trying to become a therapist. I've also just added career exploration as one of the things that I'm going to be offering. And then, there's just so much good stuff that is on there that it's the best place to just tune in because mental health can be expensive to try and get all the resources you need. And so I definitely want people to feel like they can watch this episode, they can watch other episodes, like maybe they can read a post that I had on Instagram, or maybe even attend something that I'm doing and just feel like it's accessible, and that they're able to apply it to their daily life. So I appreciate you so much, Anna, for coming on here and just connecting. Y'all make sure that y'all following and subscribing. Always Live Lovely. Make sure you're following and tapping in with Anna so that y'all don't miss out on anything that we're doing. And I just appreciate you for coming into the space. I know it's not easy for people to share their story and to be vulnerable in this way, and then so the fact that you're displaying this courage is encouragement enough for people to know that you don't have to hide what it is that you're experiencing and going through. Sometimes that helps you bring more light to the situation where you're like, forget what everybody else thinks. Forget, what people may say, what their thoughts may be. Being able to set yourself free and taking control of your narrative in that way is such a beautiful thing.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you so much.
Yeah.
I hope that, you could be on another, episode. We'll see what we got cooking up, especially for the season finale. So thank you
No,
so very much.
This is so cool. Yeah. I've never been this vulnerable. So this is like a milestone moment for me. So I'm happy. I'm very happy about this.
Yes. All right. All right.